welcome into the kitchen today with my beautiful guest, Marina. Now, we are back on the dinner party inspiration because now that we are all getting back together, it is very important that we have some fantastic ideas that we can use on the friends and family now that we are celebrating being together again. Now, one of my favorite things to do is obviously on arrival is a beautiful feasting table. Now, I have been to your beautiful dinner parties, and that's actually one of the reasons why I asked you around. You are, in fact, one of the dinner party queens.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. But you know what? I've been feeling really rusty. After 2 years.
Absolutely.
We need a little bit of encouragement to get back in
That
there.
is what I'm here for.
Thank God.
Now, you apparently have your son coming tonight.
I do.
And when people arrive, it's lovely, like I said, to have a feasting table. Now, have you ever put store-bought crackers on a cheese board or welcoming feasting table?
I certainly have, Mel.
And did anyone ever whip out their phones, start Instagramming your photographs? Did anyone give you a round of applause? No. Nothing.
No, not really.
Okay, we are going to change that today. So I make these all the time, and actually I made these for you. And when you came in, you said, wow, I love this guy's hairstyle.
Just gorgeous.
These are very inexpensive lavash crackers. I call them Bespoke Culinary bark because that sounds more chefy and more expensive than crackers. So when we are making a cheese platter or even with dips and cheeses, we can actually match our crackers to whatever cheese we are making. So today, we're actually going to make a beautiful little quickie cheese fondue. Now that's just a little round of camembert or brie, whatever you prefer. And always remember when you're serving cheeses, and this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, is if you whip the cheese straight out of the fridge and serve it, you are not doing the cheese any favors. So often people blame the cheese for not being good quality, but if we bring that to room temperature, it will eat $10 more expensive. Now, I can't help you if you buy the cheap, crappy cheeses. Those that taste like plastic, we can't do anything about that. But those beautiful quality cheeses are much better served at room temperature. Now, where we live in Queensland, room temperature could be a fondue. So
anyway.
within reason on the bench. But with our little quickie fondue, this is a great one, especially coming into winter.
Exactly.
And to go with our crackers. Now, of course, you would have additional dips and everything, but these are less than $1 to make for this whole batch. So when we think about what we pay for these crackers, it's best making our own. And also, we will get that street cred from the friends and family. They'll be jealous of your skills. Now,
and even a clap. And even a clap.
We are expecting a round of applause,
yes.
Absolutely. Now, like I said, cheap and easy, my two favorite things, but they do not look cheap. They do not taste cheap, and you can make these not only 10 seconds before your guests arrive, but also you can make them in advance. So these could go into an airtight container, into the freezer, and you can serve them straight away. But also, if you have crackers that have just gone slightly, you know when they lose their crunch and they lose their... Have you ever had that happen?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. And then generally, it's when someone's left the bag open or something, and it's very traumatic because we've wasted all of that money. What I like to do is as long as they're not stale, so if you've had them for 7 years, we possibly need to re-gift those and get some fresh ones. But if you've just left the packet open and they're just a little bit flopsy, put them into your oven at 180 or 200 degrees Celsius for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I call it fake fresh. So you can actually bring them back to life. Same with your day-old baguette. If you had a day-old baguette, you could walk over to the tap, wet your hand, flick it with some water, pop it back in the oven, and if you put it in there for 5 to 7 minutes, it would freshen it up. So we need to learn how to be thrifty, not too much waste in the kitchen. I hate waste.
So do I.
Yes, so we need to know how to make the fake fresh happen when we need to. So if you pop that guy to the side, I'm going to show you how to make these. And generally, these are ingredients that you would have in your kitchen, so you don't need to go and buy anything. So we've got just some plain flour. Now, again, like I say with any cooking, the flour must be fresh. So if you haven't baked in 7 years and you open your flour and something flies out of it or crawls around in it, it is probably time to knock on the neighbor's door and get yourself some fresh stuff or jump in the car, whatever's easiest. So we're just going to have a cup of plain flour there, and you can really be very creative with these. And the base recipe for this is the 1 cup of flour and 100 mils of liquid. And then we can put anything in there that we want to create our bespoke culinary bark. So this is a bit of turmeric, which is why I wore my yellow dress.
Yes.
I like to match my crackers.
Yes.
But we can make them, just leave them plain, or you can even add activated charcoal, which makes them dramatic and black and look very expensive. So for the 100 mils of liquid, I've just got a little bit of water in there, and I've got some melted butter. Now, of course, if you've got vegan or vegetarian guests, we can use olive oil or a melted butter alternative, but butter makes them nice and sexy and just
a little bit rich.
Yeah, a little bit richer. However, no matter how much money you have, don't put 100 mils of melted butter in. They will be too short. We actually need the water in there. So once we've got the 1 cup of flour and the 100 mils of liquid, we can now add the culinary bling. Now, when I say culinary bling, I'm meaning things that'll make it pretty and a little bit of flavor. So I've got some crushed black restaurant-style pepper, so just a nice coarse cracked pepper there. Of course, that would go well with our camembert or our brie. But if you maybe had a blue cheese, that would also go well with the blue cheese. But you can mix and match for the rest of your natural life, and you can make different ones. So if we were serving this with a crab or a lobster pate or anything like that, we could actually put lemon zest,
yes,
dill fronds, and maybe even a little bit of a lime leaf in there to match our seafood flavors. So you can make these as many times as you want. No one has to know that you're using the same basic recipe, which is a cup of flour and the 100 mils of liquid. So here I've gone into the garden this morning. You saw me out there. Yes. And I've just got this random little marigold, which we can put in there. I've also got some snapdragons. I like these for color. And if you wanted to brag to your guests that you had a chiffonade of snapdragon in there, they wouldn't know that a chiffonade cut is simply a ribbon cut, yes, either with knife or with scissors. I always like to brag to my guests with all my chefy terms, and then they feel intimidated. Of course, you can do the same thing. So if you said a chiffonade of snapdragon, they would think you were very fancy indeed. So that's just to get it in there. And like I said, you don't have to put the petals in. Not everyone has edible petals in their garden. However, your neighbor might have them, and you can borrow them from the verge.
I have lots now.
Excellent. And you've got bees as well, haven't you?
I need them for the bees.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, we met at the cooking school, and the reason we met was these fabulous black salt flakes, which
yes,
are in fact from Cyprus.
They are.
And where are you from?
Cyprus. I'm so proud of my home country for
yes,
producing things that Mel uses in her kitchen.
And they're from the Mediterranean. So
yeah,
this is a luxurious black salt flake. Yeah. And I use them because it's a good quality flake salt. Mm-hmm. Also, I use them because my guests probably won't have them, and then I'll appear to be more chefy than them. It's the little things that we can do
and
to impress.
Clap.
Yeah. Yes. So you don't have to put the salt in the crackers. Generally, a water cracker should just be like, it shouldn't be too flavoursome. You wouldn't nibble on those on their own. They do need the dip or the cheese. Yeah. But we're going to put that sexy black salt flake in because that is really going to look very dramatic.
Look at those colours.
Yes, so let's have a look. All right, so that is looking fabulous already. We can already sell these for $10 a cracker, I think. All right. Now in goes our liquid, and if you just give that a little stir. So we don't have to knead it. It's not like a bread dough where you have to knead it and knead it and knead it. Just bring it together into a dough ball, and the minute it's not sticky anymore, then I'll show you how to roll it out. Now there's a few ways to roll it out. You could just roll out the whole batch and then use a nice sharp knife and cut it into strips or squares. You could use your cutter set, like a little love heart if it's Valentine's Day. For Christmas, I do little star shapes. So you can literally do any shape you want. I'm going to show you how to make these expensive looking African style. I've based that on a porcupine quill. I know they're not as sharp and pointy, but I love that elegant length, and they just look more expensive. Now, while we're doing that, we also need to just get, now this is an oven-proof dish. We've got our lovely cheese, and this just needs to go into the oven about 8 or 10 minutes before we need it. Now, what I've got to go with that is I've actually taken some pistachio nuts, and I've put them into the oven, fresh pistachio nuts. I always say you're at a massive disadvantage if you have stale pistachios or pine nuts, there's nothing more traumatic to me than if they're stale. So keep them in the fridge or freezer if you're not going to use them.
And always buy in small quantities, I think.
Yes.
Because
that's more efficient, yeah.
More efficient.
So this guy just needs to go into the oven, and that's at about 180 to 200 degrees. We're going to pour some honey over here, and then we're going to have the honey and the beautiful pistachios. So that's a really easy recipe. We could, however, make this, if we weren't going the Middle Eastern stew, we could take this and stud it with garlic and rosemary is another one. Yeah. Now that, although we're using it in our feasting table today, our starters, when I do this with garlic and rosemary, and then I bake it, I often will serve that on a juicy steak or a chicken breast.
Oh my goodness. It
is like this sexiest sauce. It is packed with calories and happiness, but what can we do? So let's have a little sip of these beautiful drinks. So cheers, and thank you so much for coming today. Cheers, everyone. Yeah. Wow. So that's just our fancy water with the snow pea petal, the blue ink. So this is beautiful, and you can see it's a lovely, easy to use dough. What we do need is a little bit of the flour extra, and I always say flour is your friend, because if stuff is sticking to your hands, or if it's sticking to the counter, or if it's sticking to your rolling pin, just add a bit more flour and you will feel more efficient. So what we're going to do is divide the dough. That's called the squeeze and throw. I do it to show off. You can just pull it apart. So we're just going to take out of our dough. Now, if you have a smaller bit than this, you're just going to get a smaller cracker. So you can really be quite lazy. And the lazier I get, the bigger the crackers go. So just putting that to the side. I've rolled it into a little ball. And then I'm going to just do a little sausage. And then into the flour. And we are going to use that flour to make sure it doesn't stick to us. Now, you can see here that these are not as yellow as the ones that I've made. All I did with those ones is I did add about a 1/4 teaspoon of the turmeric, but you can have different colors because, like I said, not everyone wants the bright yellow ones. And all I'm doing here is really rolling them nice and thin. You can actually see that.
Look at the beautiful petals. I love that.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? I
know. Really
and
inventive.
So easy to make. So I won't bore you and roll them out. That's why I made some earlier. But if you want to have...
I'd love to have a go.
You have a go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the garlic and the rosemary, and we're going to stud this guy.
Right.
All right. So you are ready to roll.
Look. Isn't that lovely? Is that thin enough?
That's the best one I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. Shall I put it down? Do you think?
Put them on there. Now you can see this is not even sprayed. You just throw them on there. They don't even stick. It's marvelous.
It is. They're very good, these pans, aren't they?
Now you saw I snuck out because if you don't want rosemary on your steak, you can also put in some sage. So let me show you just how to do. We just need a chopping board. All right. So whenever I'm about to chop something, you can see there that that board is moving around. The best way to stop the board from moving is to put a cloth underneath. All right. This will make you more efficient in the kitchen. So we've got our lovely cheese there. If we just get a little knife out of here, we're just going to make a few little incisions. So that's one way of doing it, is making a few little holes in there just so that the flavor can go in there. But if you were going to be lazy, that's absolutely fine by me. If you can also just get us a little fork out of there, we could actually chop this into a nice paste, and then it'll be a more sort of even on the palate, the flavor. So with the garlic here, we're just going to crush this lovely garlic. Now, I have shown you, probably shown you this before. With the garlic is, if we just peel those, the best way to get a little garlic paste is, if you can just peel those guys, the best way to get a garlic paste is actually with a fork. Now, what I'm doing here is just viciously chopping that garlic like that, just with the top end of the fork, the little sharp end, and that is the best way to get a quick garlic paste. And then we can literally rub it onto here. So I sort of changed the flavor of this. We were going to do the honey and the nuts, and now we're going with the sage and the garlic. But I was thinking about that steak. If you were doing a steak or the chicken breast, that would be a lovely way to do it. Or even on baked butternut or pumpkin. That would be a very elegant, oozy sauce. Now, you lived in Switzerland.
Oh, I did.
And so you would love a quickie fondue idea.
Yes.
Excellent.
As I would any good cheese.
Yes. It's got to be a good cheese.
Good cheese.
It's got to be a good cheese. So I'm literally just sticking those in there. And this does not take long. Like I said, just 8 minutes.
Fondue, raclette. Oh.
Yes. Beautiful. And especially coming into the winter, it'll be fantastic.
Just the perfect little first dish, isn't it?
It is.
Just so easy.
Just to get everyone in the mood and having everyone just casually, you know, sitting down and enjoying a meal together is exactly what I think we all need.
You don't have to keep rushing in and out.
All right, so we are going to pop these in the oven, that in the oven, and then we're going to meet back here and taste it.
Right.
What do you think?
Yummy.
Excellent. In the oven it goes. So these are beautiful and brown. Now, when they are cooked, they'll actually be nice and fragile, like that. I know, but they have to be. You don't want them to be flopsy because remember, it's just basically flour and water, so they must have that crunch. Now, our beautiful cheese as well, that is beautiful and oozy, and if you just poke it over here, you will see it's perfectly melted. So depending on your oven, and mine was actually on quite hot, I went 230 with these, but we were hungry. Okay, if you had a bit more time, 180 would also be fine. So, like I said, this here is a beautiful little sharing table for the friends and family to enjoy. But try that on your next steak or even a chicken breast in the pan.
Lovely idea.
Or your baked pumpkin or butternut, like I said before. All right, so let's have a taste.
Let's have a taste.
So, did you hear that crunch? It's beautiful. All right, and also we might need a spoon. That is absolutely glorious. If you have a look in here, we shall, now be careful, that is hot, but I can handle. There we go. So that is the garlic and sage, but of course it could be garlic and sweet marjoram or anything that you like. And like I also said, do you want to help yourself? I don't know how much cheese you like and how much cheese you can handle, but you could also do that with the different flavored crackers. So have as much fun as you like. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Happy feasting tables and easy crackers. And remember, no more store-bought crackers because we just don't need to anymore. So a minute before your guests arrive, or you can make them in advance. Cheers. I'll drink to that. I'm just waiting for that to cool down. So we'll have to have a drink of our water. Cheers. Happy eating. Oh, so good.